Hey, everybody,
What?
and welcome. Yes. So, this whole let me do the intro thing, you were
Sorry.
incapable of allowing me a little bit of space.
All
It was
right, okay, it's all right.
fine. Um, Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Bring Out Your Geek, Walking, Talking Comics. We're going to be talking about a pretty bleak issue this week in the comic book, issue 58 of The Walking Dead. And so, usually we have a lot of fun going through this. There's not a lot of fun to be had in this issue, so we're gonna talk about it. But this might be one of the quicker ones we've ever done. So I'm Kelly Toole at KELLYTHUL on Twitter.
Which he has to spell out because his lower third isn't working.
Yes, that and yes, it's a thing. I don't know. I don't. Yes, it just stopped. I don't know. No lower third,
It's broke.
but
It's all right. It's a hangout. Things break.
it does. So who are you?
I'm Young Jeans. Yeunggg. I'm just going to speed right through that really quick because it's on the screen.
Yes, fine. But someone might be listening to this, so.
Oh, all right, fine.
Anyway, it'd be nice if someone was listening to it.
Our tiny little podcast. I know.
That's right. Small but
It's
mighty.
itty bitty.
So good old issue 58. The
Yep.
cover
Yep.
has Rick and Abraham either in an embrace or I really can't tell the physics of what's going on here. I don't know if it's Abraham pushing Rick into zombies, pulling him away from zombies, or dirty dancing. I can't tell.
Ew.
Ew,
Gross.
I'm not a fan, but what's your
Abraham.
is it
Um,
Rick to zombies, Rick away from zombies? What's your thinking?
it looked to me like he was tackling him away from them, or he's got him in a sleeper hold.
Yep.
It could
Or
go either way. He's got him in a sleeper hold. He's gonna let him pass out and leave him for bait, or
Okay.
he's trying to save him. I wasn't sure.
Gotta kind of pull an Otis on him. But so our
Mm,
story begins with Abe's story. We've kind of the past few issues have had moments where we're gonna hear a little more from Abraham, and then we're gonna hear a little more, and so I believe this will probably be the end of the run of that. But
right,
he starts to provide some backstory. We've heard he said, "I don't want to kill again," and he's got some issues, and so we begin to
right,
learn a little bit why. That he was with people he thought were his friends, his family. I think they were actually separated at this. From a marital standpoint, he had separated already, but they were all together in this group. Lots of bad things happened to his wife and daughter and son in the
well, yeah,
grocery store.
They made the son watch. They held him down while they took advantage of his wife and daughter. These people. He was off like scouting or something, wasn't he?
And
He wasn't in the
foraging.
building
Yeah,
when this
yeah.
happened. Yeah.
And so he kind of comes back. They could have killed him, but they didn't. And so this eventually allows Abraham to find out what happened. And as you can imagine, he's none too happy about it. Settles the score. Not hit just him. So I think there were some. He indicated there were other people involved as well, but he was the primary evener upper, and talked about ripping people apart with his bare hands.
Yeah. So he's explaining to Rick that, kind of what happened with his family and that, he's basically, I mean, he doesn't use the terminology, he doesn't say monster, but I mean, he's kind of alluding to it. Like, it's that, he's a completely different kind of person now.
And his
Um,
family has a chance to observe this activity in action, and it scares them, so they take off.
right.
It doesn't
Right.
go well for them.
And if you were not around for the last issue, he's telling Rick this story because a group came along and they were going to try and take advantage of Carl, and Rick just turned them to mush.
Gave him a power hickey. One of them he gave a power hickey to, and then he did some major
Yeah,
Major
they're
damage
like oatmeal.
off screen to the other. Lots of squishy
Right.
sounding knife activity.
Yeah. So so now they're sort of in a because they really sort of hated each other up until this point. Now they're like bonding, and Abraham is crying and yeah.
Yeah, and you've got so when he comes eventually, so his family takes off because they're scared. They don't make it. He goes looking for them. He finds them, finds the son and wife are already dead. The daughter is undead, and he says, it's like she's looking at me with blame in her eyes, which I think is pretty hard for a zombie to pull off, but I kind of get the whole emotional thing that's going on with him at that point in time. But he had to see his
You
daughter.
probably have to be you have to be her father to see that. I think he's probably reading into whatever he sees in her because he already knows her. Otherwise, I don't think. No, I think you're right. It's like the zombie that we saw, like that little question mark. Remember that one
Yes.
time we were like, did they really
It seems.
they question when they hear a noise, or did they just kind of
Did the
move?
dog head talk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And featured throughout this storyline is a series of uh, pictures of Rick looking surprised and shocked.
Yeah.
In a really kind of, it was just the big startle look kind of repeatedly through. I mean, this is a very horrific story.
Right.
But Rick is quite quite surprised by it. So then they then they kind of, they're not trying to one up each other, but it's like, well, okay, so that's the story. But so then Rick kind of counters back with, well, so Abraham then says, I did that, and then there were some people that stole supplies, and I shot them.
Right.
So then I guess to make Abraham feel better, Rick goes, well, there's this guy named Dexter, and I shot him. Prisoner
Right.
named Dexter. And this guy named Martinez.
I ran him over with an RV.
Then I beat him to death. So,
And I mean, he explains his reasons in the situation, but I think he's just trying to show him, basically, and he says something very briefly, just sort of like, because I think Abraham says that there's a switch and it flips, and Rick says that it's really only the people that are left now that have that switch that flips. Anybody who didn't have that switch is out there, as a walker. So he's saying it's actually a good thing if you have that switch and you can kill people. That's what I simmered it down a little bit, but that's kind of what it comes to.
I think you captured it. I mean, he did
Okay.
kind of say the switch is good, and kind of gives his point of view. And then our little Carl, not to be left out.
Well, and it's funny because Rick's like, if Carl ever knew, and Carl's like, oh, hey, I shot somebody in the neck. It's like,
I did mine in the neck. It was just like, we're all like in a club here, right?
oh, yeah, we're all men bonding over death, right? Yeah. So, and then he says, I did see what you did to those guys yesterday, Dad, because of what they were going to do to me, and I wanted to watch, and I wanted to see you do it, and I wanted you to do it. And then, he starts crying, and then it's a little tender moment between Rick and Carl, which is interesting because usually the tender moments between Rick and Carl start with, "Damn it, Carl!"
Yeah, that's the usual intro for it. Which I mean, this whole I shot mine in the neck. That would seem like a damn it, Carl moment, possibly. But kind of in this mix too, he mentioned, well, I didn't like Shane much, which I quibble with because I don't necessarily, it was established, but if he didn't like Shane, if I was Abraham, he's already declared like 4 or 5 times he doesn't like Abraham. So Abraham might want to
Abraham better watch his back.
keep his eyes on the little Carl stir there. And he mentioned he has thoughts.
Yes.
Which is interesting.
Alluding to. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was gonna move on to the next part unless there was.
I was just alluding to the fact that that he has thoughts about what both of those men were talking about, and that he's one of the guys, essentially.
And pudding. He also has thoughts about pudding. I'm fairly certain, but we don't really explore that further in this issue. Then we cut back to the crew hanging out.
In camp.
Yep, Michonne's doing the Michonne thing, clearing things out. Dale's being whiny, kind of his job. I don't like this, I don't like that. I want to
Yeah.
leave. I mean, we've heard this all before. Rick scares him. And we get talk of Eugene's hair.
Yes, we do.
Andrea goes, "What kind of scientist wears a mullet?"
Yeah, I was gonna say, and I think, well, I don't usually like sort of the sort of banter that they throw in often.
Oh yeah, you made
I
that
feel
clear.
like
You
that's a
have made
fair
that very
question.
clear.
Yeah, I know, right? I feel like it's a fair question. What kind of scientist has a mullet?
Okay, but prison informal wear you don't want to hear about, but hairstyles of the scientists you do.
No, I just feel like it's because from the instant they brought him into the comic, I was like, there's something wrong with this guy. There's just I didn't buy it. And so like I was like, exactly. When she asked it, I agree. Like no. No, and I like his response, which is basically like, it's camouflage, man. Like nobody's gonna think I'm smart if I'm wearing a mullet.
That's right.
You're
Because
absolutely right.
look how I exude smart in every other aspect of my deportment. It's like, I don't know. I think you didn't need the mullet to come across as a doofus, but that's
No, he's got that one down.
I think he's got that covered.
Yeah.
And they're running. Then there's a little bit of a debate of are they running low on food or not. Dale's going to look. Everybody wants to do something. Andrea wants to guard. Dale wants to talk. They're all kind of throwing out all the different things they want to do. And so they're just ambling around. But then we cut back to Rick's home, which Abraham is complimentary of, sort of. I don't know if it's
It was nice.
It was nice. I don't know if that's a real killer Zillow listing or not.
Looks like it didn't used to be a hellhole.
It was nice. And then we get the Kakong as Rick again, I think in the same yard, if I'm not mistaken, gets a shovel upside the back of the head. He assumes it's Dwayne, but it's Morgan, looking just crazy, just wacky.
Yeah. He's got those crazy eyes.
And we learn why.
Yeah.
Being a happy episode.
Yeah.
Happy issue. Sorry.
More happy joy.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, he's got Dwayne locked up in the house as a walker, chained up.
And he's been feeding them.
Yeah, a little bit.
And he covers the menu with Rick. The past.
He does. He's like, just a few guys and a dog.
4 men, 2 dogs.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was like the combo plate. If you could go through. Yeah, I got the 4 men, 2 dogs, and a rat, please.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's a pile of stuff on the floor, and it's clear.
Yep. And Rick figures out Mother surprised, shocked Rick face. A lot of those this issue.
Yeah.
And Morgan, well, it could have been self-defense. He's not like 100% sure. He says, we can maybe argue this was a self-defense thing, but I had to feed the kid, so I took care of it.
Yeah, and Rick says, it's not your son anymore. It's time to let him go.
Yeah,
here's a gun.
Yep.
Yeah.
So handing the crazy man a gun, interesting choice. Rick, the master of wise choices. Yeah, here, let me arm you. Yeah. Let me arm you, crazy man. Tells him to let him rest. And then, so this is the one part of this issue that troubled me. I mean, there's a lot in this issue that troubled me, but confused me.
Okay.
Okay, so you're Rick. Okay, I want you to be Rick for a second. And you have given...
All right.
Okay, so just only use one hand for the rest of the podcast.
Okay.
Yep, there you go. Excellent. Well done. You give Morgan a gun.
Yeah.
You have told Morgan it is time to let your son rest. Morgan goes into the house
Mm-hmm.
You now go to converse with your new best buddy Abraham and your son, the future serial killer. So you're
Yes.
having a little chat, and
Mm-hmm.
then there's a gunshot.
Mm-hmm.
In the issue, the panel after the gunshot is a shocked Rick. Like, oh my God, what was that?
Yeah, a little bit. They both
Why would
do.
he be surprised? I mean, isn't that exactly? I mean, this is like, isn't that what he sent him to do? I mean, I would be. Well, you're Rick. You tell me, Rick. Wouldn't you be expecting to hear a gunshot?
Yeah, no, I agree. He seems like he's a little surprised that Morgan actually went through with it. I don't know. Maybe he wasn't really expecting him to do it. I'm not sure. But both him and Abraham were like,
Yeah, they were just total.
prison in surprise.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like Rick.
I don't know.
You gave the guy a gun. You told him to go have his son rest. There's gonna be a gunshot if he can. But maybe you're right. Maybe he didn't think he was gonna be able to do it, and he's gonna come back out and say, no, you need to do it. Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's been feeding him the whole time, so it's very possible. Maybe he just doesn't think he's gonna, because clearly he doesn't want to let go. I don't know. It was weird.
So they head out.
Yep.
We pan back in comic book fashion to Morgan's home, or where Morgan's staying, and
Yeah.
we find out that it was all a ruse, and he did not kill Dwayne, but he did unchain him.
I think he shot the chain. I think was what they were trying to get at. He actually shot the chain to break it, and that's so now he's loose in the house.
Yep. Which, okay. I mean, it's tough. I mean,
Because the chain is still there's a nail in the floor or a spike or something. The chain is still stuck in the floor. So I think he shot the chain is what they were trying to.
So I need MythBusters to do that for me, because I don't think a single shot is going to do that. But
I think you
you're right.
can. I think it depends upon what size chain, though. That looks like a pretty. I thought about that myself. I'm like, that's a pretty hefty chain. That's like an alley fight chain. That's not a little chain.
Wow, I didn't know you knew your chain so well. I'm very
I watch
impressed.
movies.
That's an
I
alley
watch
fight
lots of
chain.
movies. Well, you know what I mean. It's like it's a heavy duty like industrial looking chain. It's not some little nothing rope. I mean it's.
You trot out alley fight chain, and I'm going to be agreeing with you the rest of the show. So that's a great point you made.
Scary jeans.
There you go. There. See, now there's a Twitter handle for you.
Scary jeans.
But
So.
and then just kind of have a nice alley fight chain around your profile pic. It would look very nice.
Yeah.
Very becoming. So we made it. We got
Yes.
through. There's a lot of Walking Dead that's like, oh, it was all laugh a minute, but this one was a toughie, because even in some of the darker times in Governor Land with Michonne, those were super dark moments within it, but there was a little bit of air, at least plot development outside of it. This one was there's just not a lot of there's not a lot of air in this one. It's tough.
You were allowed to come up to breathe with the mullet, and that was it.
Yeah, and that was quick.
Yeah. So
maybe things will pick up in 59, and it'll be more like a sitcom, and it'll be just a lot of jokes, a lot of practical jokes. They'll shave off one of Eugene's eyebrows, something like that. Maybe.
That would be awesome. Actually, I would do that. You hold him down, and I'll shave his eyebrows.
That would. Sounds good. I'm gonna do it. Whatever you say.
Excellent. All right. And on that note, I think we're good to go.
I think so.
Okay.
Thanks for listening. More to come.
Good night.